Look, but the point of going back to the Mishnah, like versus the Gemara, is because the rabbis in the Gemara didn't really have smicha, so with the exception of like 2 or 3 of them. Like Rav Zera became Rabbi Zera, but that's much, much later. There was no temple, there was no real Beis Din Hagadol. But they had smicha, but they didn't sit on the Sanhedrin. Why is this important? It's because if something appears in the Gemara and it doesn't appear in the Mishnah, then it's not a law. It says that only a court of greater number and greater wisdom could abolish a previous ruling. However, I'll tell you, the bulk of many of the things that we find problematic with halakha, for example, my video on Purim, my latest video on Purim, I made a video 5 years ago, bringing down the Mishnah Torah's understanding of getting drunk on Purim, which according to the Mishnah Torah was only drinking a revi'is, which is around 3 ounces, and then taking a nap, showing that at least according to the Rambam, this wasn't acceptable. My latest video on getting drunk on Purim was that the Mishnah doesn't bring down getting drunk on Purim. This was something that was created by the Amoraim. No one ever makes that point.
Wow. That
the Amoraim didn't have smicha. Now, people think, oh, what's in the Talmud? The Talmud is made up of the Mishnah and the Gemara. The Amoraim are very important to us because they were the students of the Tanaim. But if it doesn't appear in the mouth of a Tana, then it's not halakha. This is something people never talk about. And this is really a new way of studying halakha. There's a rabbi who does this very often online. His name is Rabbi Chaim Ovadia. I interviewed him. Also, Rabbi David Bar Chaim does it some. He'll go back to what the Mishnah says, and he'll be like, you know what, the Mishnah doesn't even say this. I have a lecture on Halav Yisrael. I brought down the leniencies of Halav Stam, which was made famous by Rav Moshe Feinstein. He didn't invent it, by the way. It was the Pri Chadash, I think, invented the notion that if it's customary not to have pigs or non-kosher animals, where your milking comes from, then it's okay to rely on the general understanding that there's no pig's milk mixed in your milk. But he took it further. Like Rabbi Soloveitchik was famous for allowing people to eat Kraft cheese, and everyone was against him. And then I guess he passed away. He never changed his mind. I heard his son-in-law, in a way to defend his father-in-law, say, oh, well, he didn't really mean it, and this and that. But all his students know that he said it. Why? Because that's how the Mishnah rules. That the issue of rennet is not an issue. And it's brought down in the Mishnah like this, that the Kohanim used to drink milk that was curdled with meat rennet, and it wasn't an issue. This is why that at least regarding the prohibition of poultry and milk, I'd go back to the Mishnah to see what it says. Now, Yossi HaGelili was a Tana, but I'm curious to see how that discussion went, because I know how the Amoraim ruled it. But the vast majority of times, the Amoraim are just agreeing with the Tanaim, because the Amoraim are not allowed to disagree with the Tanaim unless they bring a Tosefta, which is just one of the Braitot. There aren't enough people teaching Judaism like this. And if you guys think that almost everything's been thought out in Judaism, that all we need is more rabbis giving more classes, it's a shame that the vast majority of rabbis on YouTube just repeat the same crap over and over and over again. And there's only maybe like 3 or 4 rabbis who bring new stuff to the table. Like, honestly, who ever heard of making pasta on Pesach? Perfectly allowed. I mean, pasta is made with egg. Like with the semolina water mix that we have in supermarkets is a new way of making pasta just to save on money. Right? But the traditional way is just eggs and flour. According to Halakha, what's the issue with eggs and flour? Nothing. It's only water with
video.
flour.
It was great. We're actually going to buy our own pasta machine just because of that, just for Pesach, right? And just kasher.
No, but why hasn't anyone mentioned this? Is it that I'm a genius? No, it's because this is like the MMA of religion here. That you have to kind of tear yourself away of these customs that are 300, 400 years old from Europe or from Baghdad or from any little style, right? You're seeing Bruce Lee, the Dragon movie, where he's making fun of people doing the kung fu in this style and this and that, because they're leaving themselves open in all these different areas because they're not fluid in their movement and their thinking. I mean, Judaism is very colorful, and this is why. I mean, there's a lot to learn. So to be bored with religion, I'll give you advice on where to look for a lot of these things. You're not going to find it on YouTube. I always encourage people to go to Yeshiva University, to yutorah.org. And the rabbis I listen to there are Rav Herschel Schachter is one of them. Rabbi Aryeh Leibowitz is another one. Rabbi Aaron Rekefet. these people are just going to give you meat. Boom, 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 boom. And then you could run with that. And then, put two and two together. Like, why can't you make pancakes and waffles during Pesach, even with flour and water? Because we don't let the batter rise. Right? I mean, the halakha is not that it's 18 minutes from when the water touches the flour, which is how everyone teaches nowadays. That's not what the halakha says. It says 18 minutes from when you stop kneading it. And if you go by other sources, like Rabbi David Bar Chaim, he says it's 45 minutes. And he has sources in the Talmud Yerushalmi for that. Even though it's the Rif that made it famous that, we go mainly by Talmud Bavli instead of Talmud Yerushalmi, and the Rambam ran with it. That's, their opinions are just as valid as your opinions. The Rambam's 13 principles of faith are his opinions. Radbaz has another opinion. With Sefer Ikarim has another opinion. Opinions are a great thing. The problem is when people, they can't distinguish between opinions and source material. Who uses that word source material in Judaism? I've never heard anyone say source. No, there's what the rabbi teaches. There's what we do. No one says source material because no one even knows that there's source material.